So now that everyone has a bit extra free time, I decided now would be the best time to finish this review. Hope you guys watching aren't suffering from the current global crisis, and make sure you wash your hands. Let me start this off by amending my review of the first two worlds. So I finished it, and believe me, the ending is not worth it at all. I would show both the endings, but my footage got corrupted, and for some reason my save file is now missing. I also need to mention one more thing about the first two worlds that extends into this game, and that's traps. Traps are fantastic. They are a lifesaver. There's bombs, slightly less so, but the holding traps specifically, they are lifesavers. They can help you fight larger enemies, and they're reusable, so that's good. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get on to the second game. Two Worlds 2 was released in 2011 and developed and published by the same studio as the first. It's still an RPG, and it is slightly more competent than the first. Sort of. Like other RPGs on the market, this game features everything you love about the format, but worse. This whole game can be summed up by saying it's like another RPG, but worse. It is slightly better than the first one. In this case, that's not a good thing. Some of you may know from my review of the original game that I love it to death, and it's one of my favorite bad role-playing games. Well, I've put plenty of hours into this one now, and I have to say that while being far more competent than the first one, it just isn't as charming. Other than me being less endeared to it, I have to say it is a perfectly playable game with little to no issues on the surface. Comparatively to the first game, this game is way better looking. The art direction is more streamlined than Two Worlds, and while I enjoyed Two Worlds' art style more than this one, for its more out-of-the-way appearance, with a lot of the armors and weapons kind of looking like fantasy rejects, it also had a very side-grade system on top of actual upgrades, where you could get armor that gave you better protection at the cost of dual wielding or not being able to use a bow. Emperor forbid you not being able to swim in plate armor. But in this game, the armor system is more like class armors. You have your mage armor, your archer armor, and your knight armor. All the armors have attunement slots, so you can put stat crystals in them and hope a good game comes out. A lot of the armors look similar, but they do visibly look more protective. For instance, you start with this weird cloth and leather shirt, then you get hardened leather armor, and then you start getting chainmail and plates. All the archer armor looks mildly the same. Some of the later stuff has like some chainmail underneath the shirt. And the wizard robes just kind of have different colors. Speaking of colors, you can dye your clothes now. Most of the pigments are pretty muted, but it works for the most part. The music in this game is slightly better, as well as the voiceover in substance and quality. Gone are the days of Old English, and I have to say, I miss it. It made it seem like the world was full of bumbling idiots that couldn't speak properly, and you were their only hope. The game might be better without it. It's just sad to see it go. It was really one of the greater parts of the first game, to be fair. But this game legitimately suffers from not having terrible voice acting, in my opinion. The gameplay is overall smoother than Two Worlds. The fighting is still janky, but everything else is improved. From spellcrafting to lockpicking, general mechanics are much better. I love when it becomes Wind Waker. The actual sailing doesn't feel terrible either. The game really opens up at this point. You can go to any island you want, but you shouldn't. Because no matter where you go, the only thing worth doing on those islands is killing things. And generally, those things you're killing don't drop anything worth picking up. Oh, I forgot. This game is a completely separate co-op mode. So first off, in co-op, you get to do missions. Wow. Now, if you've grinded up enough money, I'd say about 15,000, you can purchase an empty plot of land and build a village on it. And that also leaves you with enough money to build an extra building, farm, ranch, whatever you want to build. This is where it turns into a bit of a management sim, where you have to keep the villagers happy by making sure they have enough food and keeping them safe from baddies that wander in from abroad. Village works as an infinite money farm as long as the villagers are happy. The area around the village is full of little hidden chests, and they respawn after a while. I was also going to review the actual co-op campaign, but it appears I don't have any friends that are willing to put up with playing two worlds. So that's great. Gone are the days of gluing machetes together to make them better. Now, you have to dismantle every item. And then glue them together. But you can't do this infinitely. Items have an upgrade limit, determined by a metallurgy skill. Or other crafting skill for different items, because the devs want you to waste your skill points. They also took away the ability to slap crystals onto weapons as well. It's replaced with these attunement slot things that you can only get from upgrading your weapons. Just like the first game, there are crystals of many different sizes. To get bigger crystals, you can either find them or combine multiple of the same crystals together to make it larger. I think both of these systems are worse than the first game. At least I don't like them. The only real issues that I've had with this game is that they got a new voice actor for the protagonist, and he pronounces his sister's name wrong. Until the end of the game. When he starts pronouncing it right. Also, in between me working on this game review, it seems like they added some kind of a paid resource market to the game. So, this piece of shit RPG has microtransactions on consumables. One of my other complaints is with how the enemies spawn. Most of the time, if they're not just sitting on the side of the road waiting for you, they just kind of pop out of the ground. And well, sometimes it makes sense, like with skeletons or other undead popping out of the ground. It happens with most monster types at some point. Yay. So, you guys want to play this and don't want the story explicitly spoiled for you for some reason, go to this timestamp. The 95% of you that are sticking around, what's the matter with those guys? Do they really think the story's going to be worth it? Ridiculous. So, the story is, as far as I can tell, based off the bad ending from Two Worlds. Gandahar, from the first game, is now the Emperor of Antalor, and has imprisoned you and your sister Kira, even though from the bad ending it seemed like you were working for him. And he also commits genocide to all the orcs everywhere. You know, that's great. Our stupid hero is then saved by the last of the orcs, because they think that he's the only one that can stop Gandahar. And so you run around a savannah for 25 hours until you accidentally stumble into feudal Japan. Shortly after you graduate from college in Japan, you go and study abroad, Wind Waker style. Boating fun is interrupted shortly after you realize the main quest has nothing to do with boats. And you continue to do quests until you find an old professor, who is Gandahar's old friend. He tells you how Gandy Boy messed with nature and destroyed a large mass of land which is now filled with zombie men, who jump out of the ground at you, H.R. Geiger's farts, and great value Sonic the Hedgehog's. You find out more of how Gandahar came to power, and of an item you can use to stop him, after fighting Sauron, sponsored by Monster Energy. With this knowledge, you now head to the swamps of Eastern Europe. And just like real Eastern European swamps, it's filled with the undead. It's also around this point that you find out it's actually continuing off of the good ending of the first game. The main character remarking that he beat Gandahar once and he can do it again. After you fight your way through a small army of zombies and go grocery shopping for the local hag, you find out that the nearby town has been under control of a demon. So, after you kill the demon and rip out his heart, you have everything you need to fight Gandahar. After a very cancerous segment of running away from very large enemies, you find Gandahar, only to find out that he has been being manipulated the entire time. So you fight the woman, who was really a dragon, who was helping you. After you beat her, your sister, Kira, takes the throne, as Gandahar was killed fighting said dragon. There. That's the story of Two Worlds 2. I described it as briefly but as in detail as I could. I don't think you guys should play this game for any reason, except maybe for co-op, because that's sort of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This video has literally been in the progress of being made for 2 years. It doesn't really reflect that. Hope you guys liked it. See ya in 8 years for the next one. And, yeah. All in all, this game is worse than the first one in all ways, except visual. And as according to the new system of final scores, I'm giving this one a 3.5 to 4 out of 10. It's not really a great game. It's below average at the very least. And yeah, so bye bye. It's been a fucking blast. So, as a little treat for you guys, I decided to stay around. I want to show you guys a little secret. So, when you get your boat, you can head directly north of New Ashos, and there's a little basement, you can lockpick into. See, it's right there. It's right there on the map. Yep, there it is. So you can get in there if you're confident in your lockpicking skills, and you can get a whole load of really good gear. So thanks for watching the video once again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.